You know, when I was out in Phoenix for the American Freedom Tour a couple of months back, I had the honor of interviewing a fellow who specializes in helping patriots all across the country basically get their money back from the government. It's wonderful. And the response to that interview was so overwhelming from you that we knew we had to have him back. So Josh Zaglowski is with us again. He's a commercial real estate owner who's made an amazing discovery that's helping scores of people get their money back from the federal government. In fact, when he was last with us, he helped our fellow Turley talkers get, we were talking before this, it's like over $7 million back for their businesses. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And he's going to show you right now how to do that. So welcome back, Josh. Great to have you back with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate the call. Yeah, we had a great time in Phoenix and, looking forward to having even a better time this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that's when I first learned about this discovery you made regarding the CARES Act that Biden changed. I guess it was in March of last year. And you discovered, I think you called it back then, a glorified grant that people can find out about, by the way, if they qualify just by clicking on the link below. But can you give us a bit of the background to all this? What is the CARES Act and how does it relate to what you discovered of late?
Yeah. So what's funny is ERC is what it stands for, Employee Retention Credit. And it's actually been around the exact same time when PPP started.
Okay.
Back in March of 2020, when the pandemic started. The whole reason for PPP was to help business owners get money to then pay their employees, right? And a lot of people didn't apply for it because it was a loan originally, ended up being forgiven. But this actually started at the same time, but you couldn't do both. You couldn't do PPP and ERC, right?
Okay.
So majority of people did PPP because it was so easy to do. Your banker, your fintech company, they're contacting you to, help you get the PPP money for your business, which they got a commission for that.
Sure.
But then a year goes by. Obviously, PPP number 2 started, in third or fourth quarter of 2020. Then in March of 21, and so let me first say the PPP and also EIDL, that's within the umbrella of that CARES Act. And so is ERC. But in March of 21, President Biden amended it. And he first said, if you got PPP, you can now get ERC. And this is up to $26,000 per W-2 employee, right? And we'll go over some stuff, but it's just a weird gray area that it's kind of hard to understand. And being me as a business owner, I was always looking for different ways to help different businesses I have survive,
Right.
and so when I saw this, I was like, hey, here's another opportunity for one of our businesses, not in the commercial real estate business, but another business. And I called a couple CPAs, my own, and I always tell people, don't get mad at your CPA or your tax professional for not knowing this, because it is tough to understand. We actually work with CPAs, and they send us a lot of business. But on the other side it's a payroll credit. So, but you talk to payroll companies and they don't do it either. So it's like this weird gray area. So like when you say I discovered it, it's obviously flattering, but it's like, it's out there. It's just so hard to understand. And because of that book, Who Not How, I had the mentality of like, hey, I need to get the right people around me to see if this could be, a valid company. And sure enough, it is now.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, yeah, we were talking about earlier before the interview, how with the PPP, I mean, you had all of these, corporations, banks, and so forth pushing it, helping people get it and acquiring it and the like. But this seems to have been left in the background a little bit. This is the poor neglected child in the corner, but he's still there, and there's lots of money to collect, and it just, for whatever reason, they didn't act as the brokers for it. So that's basically what you're doing. You're showing us, there's another opportunity just like that PPP for you, and we're going to make that possible for you. Bring it out into the open, make it overt rather than covert, I guess.
Yeah,
Is this? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is it's like the name, employee retention credit. And this is not a loan. It's money that you don't, it's fully forgiven when you receive it. And Biden has amended this a few times this in 2021. I was going to say this year, but we're in a new year. And he's made it much easier for businesses to receive this money. At first, it was a little tough. You used to, had to show a loss of your business, but it's been amended a couple of times since then. One being, having a supply chain disruption to your business. And that was at the very end of third quarter of 21. So the point of it also is to almost like a reward to business owners for keeping employees, for retaining employees. And, there's so many good stories out there. I met with this pizza joint just here locally. I'm in Utah, and they're going to get about $475,000. And what did the first thing they said, they're like, oh my gosh, we can now open 2 more stores. What does that do? That adds more employees to their business. It helps our economy. I mean, and I love to hear those stories of people that are taking that money and they're going to go invest it in their own business, and because you can use it for whatever you want, That's what's pretty cool too. Whereas a grant, technically, that's why I say a glorified grant, but a grant, you have to yes, you get the money, but you have to do X, Y, and Z with that money, right? Where this, you can use it for whatever you need. If you want to give dividends to your owners or whatever it is, right?
Right. So, and again, especially when you think of all the taxes that business owners have to pay and what they have to deal with, this is such a blessing, such a gift of getting some money back here. Is the grant for anyone? What are the qualifications for the grant?
So, well, the reason why they call it a credit and not a grant is
I should say credit,
only because this is money. So sometimes people think it's a tax credit. Oh, well, this isn't really money. It's just going against my taxes. No, it's almost like getting a tax refund check, right? Now, you do have to pay taxes on it. And that's why you should talk to your CPA after you receive the money, because it's going to be taxed however you want to adjust it that way. But definitely talk to a tax professional about that. But how someone gets qualified is there's up to $26,000 per W-2 employee. So you think about that, 10 employees, up to $260,000 extra for your business.
Wow.
It's broken up. I always say it's broken up in two sections here. So in 2020, you can get up to $5,000 per employee. And then there's $21,000 available for 2021, basically $7,000 per quarter per employee for the first 3 quarters. They don't have it for the quarter 4 of 21. So now in 2020, the qualification is do you have 100 employees or less? If the answer is yes, the next question is were you shut down or amended your business based on a government mandate? And I mean, I would say 90% of businesses qualify if they're under 100 employees for 5,000 minimum, right? Then in 21, it goes by quarter. And I'll first say what it amended to. Now it's 500 employees, or less.
Wow.
So this is a small business credit. So companies that have, and that's per entity. So sometimes someone will say, oh, I have 800 employees. Like we have a Pizza Hut franchise that had, 20 locations, I think, but they're all under the 500 per entity. Right.
Per entity.
So,
got it.
Yeah. So it's per entity, 500. And then 20% decrease in revenue comparing your 19 quarters to your 21 quarters. But what they added, now there's an or have you had a supply chain disruption to your business? Nice. So the disruption was not part of it. And what we feel is because that came out at the end of the third quarter when they announced there's $400 billion for this program and only 18 billion had been used. So there might
be. Can you say that one more time, Josh? That was really cool.
400 billion, and then only 18 billion had been used.
Wow.
And this is a past legislation type of program. So this needs to be used. And we feel that's why it was amended to make it much easier for businesses and business owners to get this money. And it's the same thing as PPP. Like if you wait on this and it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And now because of this supply chain disruption, us as a company in fourth quarter and now in the first quarter of 2022, it's I mean, we're seeing hundreds of companies a day utilizing this through our system. So
Wow.
It's been quite awesome.
And there's right with $380 billion out there for the taking. It seems it's almost insane. People aren't doing this. But let's get to the brass tacks of this, Josh. Come on, what are the costs on this? This is obviously going to cost us an arm and a leg to acquire. What are the hidden? What's the devil in the details here?
So there's two things. One is we saw at the very beginning when we started this, the IRS is backlogged to even send out this money. So in other words, like if a company comes in today, and as far as logistically, they hit the link that you'll provide, they'll go through about 8 minutes of questions, literally 8 minutes. And I want people not to know that, because sometimes people see the questions like, oh, I'll get back to that. It'll take you under 10 minutes, and we'll never ask for a credit card. Because the one thing we said, and this goes along with our fee, is we don't charge up front. We saw that because we said if we charge up front, then people are waiting 6 months,
right?
Sometimes upwards of 8 months. We've seen that's a hard pill to swallow for a business owner. Like, wow, I paid for these guys like 6 months ago, and I still haven't seen the check yet. So we said, hey, we're gonna. When we saw some other people doing this at the time, is we take a percentage, 15% of whatever credit they get. And so we work as hard as we can to get the most credit possible for the business. So it's almost like a partnership. Is the more they get, obviously it's better for us too, right?
Right.
And they have the peace of mind knowing that, if they apply and then we come back and we say, actually, based on your questions and answers, you don't qualify, they didn't get charged anything, right? And someone says, is there a money back guarantee? Well, yeah, I mean, we don't get paid until you get paid. So, absolutely there is. But I wanted to say that, that was the bottleneck. There was something else I was going to say, and now I just slipped my mind, but it'll come back to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's key. People know they're not going to be paying anything until they're paid, and that could take a few months. And it's really neat how you're kind of leading them along this long journey, but the end result is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, as it were. So how do people know if they qualify? Is it really just a matter of just clicking on the link below and filling out the form?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So thanks for reminding me. So number one is they hit the link. So like kind of step by step here, they'll go through about, like I said, 8 or 10 minutes of questions. Then it's going to tell them a range. You based on your questions and answers, you're approved between 100,000 to 300,000. But we need a couple documents from you. It'll tell them based on their questions and answers what those documents are. In a nutshell, though, they're going to be one or two or three of these documents. Number one is their 941s. So that's a tax form. That's their quarterly report, that they've filed with IRS. Because this is not a gray area program; it's black or white. Literally, they've already filed these documents with IRS. So that's what the IRS is wanting to see, is like, okay, we got to match this up. Did you calculate this right? That type of thing, right? So they'll upload each quarter. There's 6 quarters, and they'll tell them which ones. They'll do a payroll report for a certain time frame, which that will take them probably 5 minutes to get it on QuickBooks or whatever service they use. And we give them step-by-step pieces. And the very last one is their PPP documents. So basically what they're verifying is, which employees did you have in this quarter versus that quarter and all that kind of stuff. About 4 or 5 things, they upload them, and now now they're 30 minutes into this. We'll then say, hey, we got the documents, or if they uploaded wrong, we'll let them know. And then it takes us about 7 to 10 business days to come back and say, okay, to the penny, let's say we gave them the range of 100 to 300,000. It comes back and say, well, you're been approved for $121,000.32. Do you want us to file this? Then they'll go on the DocuSign, they'll click there, and then we then file within 72 hours. And then it's just the waiting game from the IRS.
Brilliant. Wow. That's amazing. Gang, this is why we have patriots like this on our show for you. These resources, they're just unbelievable. Imagine what you can do with an extra $26,000, for example, for your business. I mean, just imagine it. Well, all you got to do is just click on the link below, right? You got nothing to lose, and see if you qualify. It's absolutely that easy. So, yeah. Josh, it's amazing. It's even more amazing now that you're explaining it a second time. I think the first time I was still in the clouds with it, but now I'm really starting to get it. So thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much for what you do. I mean, you're changing lives. It's wonderful. I can't thank you enough.
You bet. It's absolutely rewarding. And I look forward to, talking a lot of the Patriots here in the next coming months.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, everybody.